So picture a 22-year-old on an old episode of MTV Cribs just walking you through this massive 8,000 square foot beachfront mansion in Malibu.
Oh yeah, classic image.
Right. The camera crew is panning over the infinity pool, the custom marble driveway, and the interviewer asks, "How did you afford all this?"
And you expect them to say they signed a record deal or something.
Exactly. But imagine if he looked dead in the lens and said, "Well, I aggressively clipped coupons, skipped my morning latte for 3 years, and, maximized the employer match on my mid-level corporate 401k."
I mean, the record scratch would just echo across the entire country.
Totally. It's completely absurd.
Right, because we inherently know that is a ridiculous scenario, yet, it perfectly highlights the massive cognitive dissonance in American financial culture.
Yeah, we never see young people in beachfront mansions bragging about delayed gratification and target date retirement funds.
No, never. We see them, though we assume they either inherited it, won the lottery, or, got incredibly lucky with some Silicon Valley tech startup.
But when you look at the mainstream financial advice pushed by this massive industrial complex of wealth management, that coupon clipping, index fund hoarding playbook is exactly the roadmap we are handed.
Right. It's the default setting.
It really is. And so, welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Our mission today for you, the listener, is to completely deconstruct MJ DeMarco's book, The Millionaire Fastlane.
Yeah, and it's a dense one.
It is. We are taking a hard, critical look at this widely accepted American mantra of working hard and saving gradually.
We want to uncover the structural reasons why it so frequently leads to a life of delayed gratification that, frankly, arrives entirely too late.
Right. And to set a specific framework for this conversation, we are moving far past just a surface-level summary.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be a rigorous analysis of the actual mathematics of wealth.
We're going to break down the author's 3 financial roadmaps: the Sidewalk, the Slowlane, and the Fastlane.
And crucially, we're going to apply these frameworks directly to modern U.S. economics.
Yes, the realities of Wall Street and the mechanics of scalable entrepreneurship today.
Because we really need to dissect the underlying unit economics of why standard financial advice is basically mathematically impotent when it comes to rapid wealth creation.
So true. And the genesis of this entire philosophy actually stems from a single formative moment in the author's youth.
Right, the Lamborghini prophecy.
Exactly. So MJ DeMarco was a teenager in Chicago walking out of an ice cream shop when he saw this mythic, wedge-shaped spaceship of a car, a Lamborghini Countach.
A total dream car for the 80s and 90s.
Oh, for sure. But the detail that permanently rewired his brain wasn't the car itself. It was the owner.
Right, because the guy getting into this $250,000 machine wasn't some 75-year-old retired executive with silver hair.
No. He was a guy in his 20s wearing casual clothes.
And that image completely shattered the cultural myth DeMarco had been fed his entire life.
The myth that wealth and youth are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, and the psychological paradigm shift there is just profound.
It really is.
I mean, the U.S. education system and corporate culture heavily condition us to view wealth as this terminal reward at the end of a 40 or 50-year slog.
Right. It's the gold watch at retirement.
Exactly. So when DeMarco saw that young owner, it basically forced a computational error in his worldview.
He had to ask the logical question.
Which is, if the standard culturally approved path takes 40 years of compounding interest in corporate ladder climbing, what path did that guy take?
Because mathematically, he could not have used the standard path to acquire that vehicle at age 25.
No. Absolutely not. He used a different vehicle operating under a completely different set of physics.
Okay, but before we can even touch the mechanics of those physics, the sources force us to redefine what we are actually chasing.
Yes, redefining wealth itself.
The book argues that the American public has been sold this great deception.
Because if you ask the average person on the street to define wealth, they immediately point to material items, right?
They point to the Lamborghini, the massive house in the Hamptons, the designer clothes, private jet flights.
But DeMarco strips all of that away and introduces this concept of the Wealth Trinity.
Which consists of family, fitness, and freedom.
Right. And if you optimize your life for the wrong definition of wealth, you inevitably end up on a roadmap that leads to misery.
So true. The Wealth Trinity defines true wealth organically.
It's robust relationships with your family and friends. It's your physical fitness, vitality, and health.
And the crown jewel is freedom, right? Having the absolute autonomy to dictate how you spend your time.
Exactly. I mean, we always hear the cliche that money doesn't buy happiness.
And behavioral psychology largely supports this once your baseline needs are met.
Yeah, hedonic adaptation ensures that the thrill of a new luxury car fades in, like a few months.
You just get used to it.
Right. But what money does buy is freedom. And freedom acts as this protective fortress around the rest of the Wealth Trinity.
I think about that in the context of modern burnout all the time.
Oh, it's so relevant today.
Money buys you the freedom to step away from a toxic corporate environment where your boss is driving your blood pressure to dangerous levels.
Which protects your fitness.
Exactly. Or it buys you the freedom to log off at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday to coach your kids' Little League team.
Protecting your family.
Right. It removes financial validation from your life choices, meaning you don't have to tolerate a miserable situation simply because, you need the health insurance.
And that autonomy exposes the core issue with the Great Deception, which DeMarco basically brands as get rich slow.
Yeah. The traditional mantra, which is heavily lobbied by the financial services industry.
Still like this, go to school, accrue a ton of student debt to get a degree, get a safe job.
Right. Invest 10% of your income in diversified mutual funds, max out your IRA, cut up your credit cards.
And then, magically, you will eventually be a millionaire when you are 65 years old.
The wealth in a wheelchair plan.
The phrasing is incredibly harsh, but, it perfectly captures the grim reality.
You are trading the absolute most vibrant years of your life, your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s.
For a payout when your physical body and energy are basically in terminal decline.
You are literally trading the bulk of your life for the end of your life.
Yeah, it's a terrible trade when you phrase it like that.
But wait, let's play devil's advocate and examine the alternative.
Okay, let's do it.
I look at the data on small business failure rates, or just the absolute bloodbath in venture-backed tech startups, and I have to wonder.
Wonder if get rich slow is actually deceptive.
Right. Is it a deception, or is it just the safest mathematical bet for a normal person?
That's a fair question.
Because a guaranteed comfortable millionaire status at age 65, sitting on a pile of Vanguard index funds, seems objectively better than going completely bankrupt at age 30 trying to build a software company in your garage.
Sure, but the word doing all the heavy lifting in that defense is guaranteed.
Ah, okay.
Financial planners love to project out an 8% annualized return over 40 years, showing that beautiful exponential curve.
The math always looks perfect on a spreadsheet.
Right. But let's look at the macroeconomic headwinds that completely dismantle the concept of a guarantee.
Because the Slowlane assumes a pristine, idealized economic environment for 4 straight decades.
It assumes you'll maintain constant, gainful employment without a single layoff, corporate restructuring, or industry disruption.
Which is basically impossible now.
It assumes a steadily rising stock market that reliably hits its historical averages.
And most devastatingly, it assumes inflation won't gut the purchasing power of the currency you are meticulously hoarding.
That inflation metric alone completely changes the math.
It does. I mean, $1 million in 1980 bought a staggering amount of purchasing power.
And $1 million today barely buys a starter home in a major U.S. metropolitan area.
Right, like in L.A. or New York, you're getting a teardown for $1 million.
Exactly. If you are projecting a millionaire status in 2060, you might just have enough to cover a few years of basic living expenses.
The sources reference the 2008 financial crisis to illustrate this fragility.
Oh yeah, that was a massive wake-up call.
But we can look at the rapid inflation spikes of the early 2020s just as easily.
Millions of Americans who played perfectly by the Slowlane rules, who deferred their dreams and saved diligently, just saw 40% of their portfolio value evaporate in the span of months during market crashes.
Or they saw their purchasing power diluted by massive quantitative easing.
Right. When you peg your entire financial destiny to Wall Street index funds and corporate America's employment whims, you are outsourcing your future.
You're outsourcing it to variables you have absolutely zero control over.
Exactly. A plan predicated on hope. Hope the market recovers. Hope your job isn't outsourced to AI. Hope you live long enough to enjoy the money.
It's an illusion of safety.
It really is.
And that lack of control and the soul-crushing timeline of the Slowlane pushes a massive portion of the population to simply give up.
Because they look at the 40-year slog, they look at the stagnant wages compared to the skyrocketing cost of living,
right,
and they just snap.
They fall into the most common, chaotic financial roadmap the book identifies: the sidewalk.
Oh, the sidewalk. It is the roadmap of the perpetual present.
Yeah, a sidewalker operates with no financial destination, no map, and absolutely no foresight.
Their entire financial philosophy is governed by instant gratification.
The psychological hallmark here is extreme vulnerability, right? They are consistently one something from broke,
Yes. One corporate layoff from missing the mortgage,
one unexpected medical bill from bankruptcy,
or just one transmission failure away from ruin.
and a sidewalker operates without a safety net because every single dollar that flows into their bank account is immediately deployed to fund a lifestyle for today.
They are actively mortgaging their tomorrow to subsidize a pleasurable today,
And that mortgage comes with a literal interest rate.
which is exactly why U.S. consumer debt statistics are so consistently terrifying.
But the sources reveal a nuance here that completely shifts how we view poverty versus wealth.
Right, because you can be incredibly income rich and still be firmly planted on the sidewalk.
Yes. We culturally picture the sidewalker as a minimum wage worker struggling to make ends meet.
But DeMarco introduces this concept of lifestyle servitude.
And that applies heavily to the American upper middle class.
Oh, massively. Lifestyle servitude is a trap of scaling expenses.
It occurs when a person's lifestyle costs rise perfectly in tandem with or actively exceed their income.
Let's look at the unit economics of a high-earning professional.
Okay.
Imagine a specialized orthopedic surgeon or a partner at a corporate law firm making, say, $500,000 a year.
By standard IRS metrics, they are in the absolute top tier of earners.
Right. But if they're spending $550,000 a year on a jumbo mortgage for a McMansion, leasing a Porsche and a Range Rover,
Paying exorbitant private school tuition and taking luxury vacations to project status,
they are mathematically still a sidewalker.
their wealth is a complete illusion.
It's held together by the massive assumption that the next $500,000 paycheck is absolutely guaranteed to clear.
Yeah, if that surgeon develops a tremor in their hand and can no longer operate, the entire house of cards collapses in 60 days.
They have all the visual markers of wealth, but they possess zero freedom.
They have become indentured servants to the lifestyle they built to impress people they probably don't even like.
And the behavioral economics behind this default to the sidewalk are fascinating.
It stems partially from a widespread lack of financial literacy, right?
Yeah, but at a deeper psychological level, it stems from the ingrained belief that wealth is an event rather than a process.
Oh, that event versus process distinction explains so much of modern culture.
It really does. Sidewalkers view wealth as something that spontaneously happens to you.
It's winning the Powerball.
It's signing a massive NFL contract.
Or going viral on TikTok and getting a massive brand deal.
It's discovering a magic crypto token that spikes 10,000% overnight.
They only see the tip of the iceberg, which is the event.
What they fail to observe is that lasting wealth is forged in the invisible crucible of process.
Right, like when the public sees an entrepreneur sell a tech startup to Microsoft for $100 million, they perceive it as an event.
But the process was the 10 years of grueling, sleep-deprived coding.
The near bankruptcies, the failed prototypes, the intense market research, and the execution of a scalable system.
Sidewalkers crave the glamorous event, but completely refuse to engage in the painful, unglamorous process.
And U.S. consumer culture is a highly optimized machine designed to manufacture sidewalkers.
Oh, we are relentlessly bombarded with flex culture.
Social media platforms basically function as highlight reels where people project the illusion of the Wealth Trinity.
We are aggressively encouraged by lenders to use buy now, pay later schemes and high-interest credit cards to acquire the trappings of wealth.
Simply to look rich, rather than undertaking the invisible process of actually becoming rich.
And eventually the fatigue sets in.
Right, because when a sidewalker finally realizes they're on a financial treadmill to nowhere,
Usually because the stress of living paycheck to paycheck finally outweighs the dopamine hit of buying new consumer goods.
they seek maturity, they take on responsibilities, perhaps start a family, and they look for an off-ramp.
And society's institutions are waiting right there, ready to usher them into what everyone culturally agrees is the responsible adult path.
The slow lane.
Exactly.
This is where the majority of listeners probably find themselves right now, and it's where the sources deliver the most aggressive critique.
The slow lane is fundamentally the sacrifice of today in the hopes of a brighter tomorrow.
It is defined by the ultimate 5-for-2 trade.
Yeah, the 5-for-2 trade is a brutal mathematical reality of standard W-2 employment.
You are trading 5 days of indentured servitude Monday through Friday for 2 days of autonomy on the weekend.
You are systematically trading 70% of your time on Earth for 30% of your life.
Let's actually pull up the math on this because DeMarco reduces the slow lane to a specific equation.
And seeing it written out is what makes the trap so obvious.
Right. The slow lane wealth equation is wealth equals your job, which is your intrinsic value, plus your market investments, which relies on compound interest.
So why does this equation act as a mathematical prison for wealth creation?
It acts as a prison because both variables in that equation suffer from what DeMarco terms uncontrollable limited leverage, or ULL.
If your wealth generation is bound by ULL, rapid wealth creation is mathematically impossible.
Let's dissect the first variable, which is the job.
Your income from a traditional job is intrinsically tethered to time.
You are compensated via an hourly wage or an annualized salary based on a 40-hour work week.
And time is the ultimate limited resource. You physically cannot work more than 24 hours in a day.
Therefore, your leverage is strictly limited by the laws of physics.
And the uncontrollable part is just as insidious.
Right. You cannot march into your CEO's office on a Tuesday and demand a 400% pay raise just because you decided you want to work harder.
The market dictates your intrinsic value, and the corporate hierarchy caps your upward mobility.
The ceiling is bolted firmly in place.
Facing that ceiling, slow laners universally pivot to the second variable in the equation, which is market investments.
This is where the holy grail of compound interest is introduced.
But again, the equation is suffocated by uncontrollable limited leverage.
Because you cannot demand a 1,500% return from your index funds this year.
No, you are tethered to the slow, historically average churn of roughly 8 to 10% annual returns.
Assuming no major macroeconomic disasters.
Yeah. Because the yield percentage is rigidly limited, the only way compound interest can generate massive numbers is by leaning heavily on the one variable you possess in a finite diminishing quantity.
Time.
Exactly. It requires decades of compounding to move the needle.
Thinking about this always brings me to the paradox of practice.
Oh, I love this part.
It's one of the most entertaining and hypocritical aspects of the modern financial entertainment industry.
Think about the mainstream financial gurus who dominate daytime television and podcast charts.
Right. The sources call out the Suzes and Davids of the world.
They stand on stages, basically berating their audiences for buying lattes, demanding they cut up their credit cards.
And insisting that true wealth is found by putting 10% of a middle-class salary into municipal bonds and mutual funds for 50 years.
The structural hypocrisy is staggering.
They preach the slow lane doctrine to their audience, but they drove the fast lane vehicle to acquire their own immense wealth.
Right. Did those television personalities amass a net worth of $50 million by meticulously clipping supermarket coupons and investing in a target date retirement fund?
Absolutely not. They got rich by writing best-selling books, selling millions of copies, building massive multimedia syndicates,
securing lucrative network television contracts, and commanding massive speaking fees.
They engineered highly scalable business systems.
They utilized controllable unlimited leverage to sell the masses, a doctrine based entirely on uncontrollable limited leverage.
They didn't dig for gold. They built a global distribution network for selling the shovels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But whenever we critique compound interest, the immediate reflexive counter-argument from the financial community is Warren Buffett.
Yes, he is held up as the ultimate patron saint of compound interest and long-term hold strategies.
So if compound interest is a trap, how is Warren Buffett one of the wealthiest humans in history?
It's a vital nuance, and misunderstanding it is where most retail investors fail.
Compound interest is an incredibly powerful mathematical force, but it is a tool for preserving wealth and generating passive income only after you already possess a massive principal balance.
Right. The fatal flaw is believing it is a tool for creating rapid wealth from a baseline of zero.
Warren Buffett did not become a billionaire by saving $500 a month from a salary as a mid-level accountant and putting it into an S&P 500 index fund.
No, he built Berkshire Hathaway, a massive corporate conglomerate.
He acquired distressed businesses. Most importantly, he utilized massive leverage through the float generated by his insurance companies, like Geico.
He operated in a completely different mathematical universe, utilizing massive scale and leverage, not the retail investor strategy of slowly saving pennies.
So compound interest is the engine that keeps the ultra-wealthy rich.
But it's a terrifyingly slow tricycle if you are starting from zero.
Exactly. If you are stuck in a vehicle that physically cannot exceed 10 miles per hour because it is fundamentally capped by your mortal lifespan and single-digit market returns.
You need a different vehicle. You must shift into the fast lane,
The transition to the fast lane requires adopting a completely new mathematical model.
which is the fast lane wealth equation. Wealth equals net profit plus asset value.
Notice the glaring omission from that equation compared to the slow lane.
Time has been entirely removed from the variable.
Yes, the fast lane is driven by controllable unlimited leverage, or CUL.
But before we can even execute the math of CUL, we have to unpack the massive psychological rewiring required to enter this lane.
The sources emphasize that you must fundamentally switch teams.
You have to defect from Team Consumer, which comprises 99% of the population, and join Team Producer, the 1%.
And this is hard because from the moment we can watch a screen, we are indoctrinated into Team Consumer.
We are trained to identify needs, experience wants, and purchase solutions.
The producer mindset requires a total inversion of that worldview.
Instead of buying the latest gadget on a late-night infomercial, you are analyzing the psychological triggers used to sell that gadget.
It changes how you interact with the physical world.
Like, when a consumer sees a new software subscription for $20 a month, they see an annoyance, another bill to pay.
But when a producer sees that same software, they don't look at the features. They look at the revenue model.
Right. They see a recurring revenue machine with near zero marginal cost of replication.
They see customer acquisition costs, lifetime value, and churn rates.
You start actively looking for frictions and problems in the market to solve rather than looking for products to consume.
The ultimate goal of the producer is to generate wealth by divorcing their time from their income.
To do this, you must engineer a business system that acts as a surrogate for your physical presence.
Your business system must be able to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without requiring you to punch a clock.
And the sources outline 5 distinct fast lane business seedlings that act as these surrogates.
They include money systems, rental systems, computer and software systems, content systems, and distribution systems.
Let's look at the unit economics of a computer system, for example, using modern tech giants.
Okay, think about a company like Microsoft or Adobe.
When their engineers write the code for a new operating system or creative suite, the time investment happens exactly once.
But once the code is finalized, they can replicate, distribute, and sell that exact same software millions of times across the globe with a marginal cost approaching zero.
The software itself is the surrogate. It processes payments, delivers value, and generates revenue while the founders sleep.
Or consider Amazon's distribution network.
Oh, that's a perfect example.
It is a sprawling, automated logistics system operating entirely independently of Jeff Bezos's hourly labor.
That is the essence of controllable unlimited leverage.
You control the intellectual property and the system.
And the leverage is practically unlimited because you can scale to serve 10 customers or 10 million customers without needing to clone your own physical body.
Contrast those unit economics with a traditional small business, like opening a local hot dog stand or a boutique bakery.
Right. These are businesses, yes, but they are not fast lane systems.
Because in a bakery, you are still intrinsically trading your time for money. If you aren't there to bake the bread, the revenue stops.
Furthermore, your habitat is strictly limited by the geographic radius of your storefront.
You can only physically serve the foot traffic on that specific block.
You have hit a hard speed limit on your wealth creation because you lack scale.
So just quitting your corporate job to start a business does not magically place you in the fast lane.
You might just be creating a more stressful, lower-paying job for yourself.
To ensure a business concept actually has limitless potential, DeMarco introduces a ruthless stress test.
It's the gatekeeper to massive wealth, known as the law of Effection.
The law of Effection is elegantly simple, but brutally difficult to execute.
Which is, to make millions, you must affect millions.
You can achieve this in one of two ways. The first is scale, meaning you sell a product with a small profit margin to a massive amount of people.
Think of a 99-cent smartphone app downloaded 10 million times.
The second way is magnitude, meaning you sell a high-margin, highly impactful product or service to a smaller but significant number of people.
Like commercial real estate development or enterprise B2B software, that operates on magnitude.
And to ensure your business model can actually satisfy the law of Effection, it must pass a gauntlet known as the 5 Fastlane Commandments.
The acronym is NECST. NECST.
This is where we need to spend some serious time, because this framework dismantling modern hustle culture is the most valuable part of the analysis.
Let's break down the first one, the commandment of need.
The commandment of need completely obliterates the most common piece of advice given to young entrepreneurs.
The rule states that businesses built to solve market problems win.
The market is entirely apathetic to your selfish desires.
It does not care that you want to be a CEO. It does not care that you want a passive income stream to buy a boat. And it certainly does not care about your hobbies.
Wait, what about the classic commencement speech platitude? Follow your passion and the money will follow.
We've heard this from countless successful people. Is DeMarco arguing that passion is entirely irrelevant to wealth?
The distinction he makes is surgical. He isn't saying passion is dead.
Okay.
He is stating that doing what you love as the foundational premise for a business is a fast track to violating the commandment of need.
Right. If your passion is knitting sweaters for cats and the market doesn't have a burning need for feline knitwear, you will fail, regardless of your enthusiasm.
The market pays for solutions to its problems, not for your self-actualization.
Your passion should be deeply attached to your end goal, your why.
That makes perfect sense. Your passion is the fuel.
Your passion might be paying off your parents' mortgage or ensuring your kids graduate debt-free.
Or simply achieving absolute autonomy over your schedule.
That why provides the necessary grit to do the miserable, unglamorous work of solving a massive market need.
You don't have to be deeply passionate about unclogging industrial drains, but if you build a highly scalable commercial plumbing franchise that solves a massive infrastructure need.
The immense wealth it generates will fund your true passions.
Exactly. Moving to the second pillar, the commandment of entry.
This principle dictates that as barriers to entry into a business model fall, competition rises exponentially, destroying profit margins.
If starting a business requires nothing more than filling out an online form and paying a $50 fee, you are entering a saturated nightmare.
The sources refer to low barriers of entry as a siren song for dumb money.
This completely exposes the modern gig economy and hustle culture.
Think about dropshipping or driving for Uber or joining a massive multi-level marketing structure.
The barrier to entry is literally having a pulse and an internet connection.
Exactly. When you look at an MLM structure, millions of people are lured in by the promise of being a business owner.
But because anyone can join, the market immediately floods with identical distributors selling the exact same product.
You have no competitive advantage.
When your rideshare driver, your barista, and your neighbor are all pitching you on the same crypto coin or real estate flipping seminar,
The barrier to entry has collapsed, and the opportunity for asymmetric returns is long gone.
which flows perfectly into the third rule, the commandment of control.
You must own the intellectual property and drive the bus.
This highlights the massive, often fatal risk of hitchhiking on someone else's platform.
We see this constantly in the modern creator economy.
If you build your entire business model as an affiliate marketer for Amazon, or a third-party seller on a massive e-commerce platform,
Or a creator relying entirely on the YouTube algorithm.
you do not possess control.
The parent company can alter the compensation structure, change the algorithm, or ban your account overnight.
Completely vaporizing your income stream.
You are merely a sharecropper on their digital land.
To satisfy the commandment of control, you must build, own, and control your own brand, your own customer list, and your own distribution channels.
You have to be the architect building the pyramid, not a disposable brick in someone else's structure.
Okay, the fourth is the commandment of scale.
We touched on this when comparing the hot dog stand to the software company, but it's really about the mathematical limits of your habitat.
Your habitat strictly dictates your maximum velocity.
A corner barbershop has a rigid, unyielding speed limit. Even if you work 14-hour days, you can only physically cut a finite number of heads of hair.
But if you shift your mindset from consumer to producer, you stop trying to cut more hair and you start looking at the systems.
You build a nationally syndicated franchise model for barbershops.
Or you develop a SaaS platform that helps thousands of barbershops globally manage their inventory and bookings.
You've moved from a local habitat to a global scale.
And the final piece of the NCST framework is the commandment of time.
Can the business eventually function and grow without your physical presence?
This is where highly paid professionals often get confused.
If you are a specialized corporate consultant billing $800 an hour, you own a very lucrative, high-status job.
But you do not own a Fastlane business.
If you take a month off to go to Europe, your income drops to zero.
A true Fastlane system is a money tree. It requires years of intense labor, watering, and pruning to grow.
But eventually, it bears fruit independent of your daily physical labor.
But having this entire blueprint understanding, ULL versus COL, passing the SCSA framework is completely useless if you never actually build the system.
The book is ruthless about the gap between theory and execution.
Ideas are incredibly cheap. They are mere pawns on the board. Execution is the king.
The analogy DeMarco uses is brilliant.
A great business idea is nothing more than a speedometer sitting at 0 inside a parked Lamborghini.
It indicates the potential for massive speed. But without the intense pressure of execution on the accelerator, the car goes nowhere.
We've all heard someone complain, oh, I had the idea for Uber 5 years before Uber existed.
And the market's response is, who cares?
You didn't execute the logistics, secure the funding, build the software, or navigate the regulatory nightmares.
Execution requires a structural framework.
One of the most actionable concepts in the text regarding execution is uncoupling.
In the slow lane, financial advisors tell employees to pay themselves first.
But mathematically, an employee is always paid last.
The IRS takes taxes out of a W-2 paycheck before the employee ever touches the money.
To uncouple your wealth from this punitive tax structure, you must form a corporate entity, a C Corp, an S Corp, or an LLC.
Let's look at the mechanics of uncoupling because it's a massive unlock for financial literacy.
That legal entity becomes the physical body of your surrogate business system.
It allows you to operate under an entirely different set of tax laws.
Imagine you make $100,000 as a W-2 employee. The government immediately takes, say, $30,000.
You are left trying to survive and invest with the remaining $70,000.
But if your LLC generates $100,000 in revenue, the mechanics invert.
You purchase your necessary equipment, you pay for your internet, you lease a vehicle for business purposes.
Let's say $40,000 in legitimate business expenses.
The LLC is then only taxed on the remaining $60,000 of net profit.
You are paying your expenses with pre-tax dollars. That is the leverage of uncoupling.
But managing that vehicle requires extreme defensive financial literacy.
You have to learn the rules of the road, or you will be taken advantage of by those who do.
You need a foundational understanding of interest rates, tax yields, market dynamics, and corporate structures.
There is a chilling quote from the book that stuck with me. When you are financially illiterate, you are deaf. And when you are deaf, you can't hear the whistle.
He uses the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme fallout to illustrate this.
Thousands of highly educated, successful people lost everything because they were financially illiterate regarding the mechanics of their own investments.
They blindly handed their money over to an authority figure without understanding how the returns were actually being generated.
If you don't understand the machinery of your own wealth, you are completely vulnerable to fraud, predatory fees, and catastrophic market shifts.
You must remain in the driver's seat of your financial education.
Right now, I can imagine a listener feeling a sense of overwhelming anxiety.
We are talking about divorcing time from money, passing 5 rigorous commandments, executing complex tax structures, and achieving financial literacy.
The Fastlane roadmap sounds exhausting.
The author admits this requires what he calls red line effort. It requires an intense, almost obsessive level of sacrifice up front.
It is absolutely exhausting. The Fastlane is not a shortcut, and it is certainly not a 4-hour work week.
But it's a question of choosing which pain you want to endure.
It is incredibly painful and difficult to build a scalable Fastlane system for 5 to 7 years.
You will sacrifice weekends, you will experience humiliating failures, and you will endure massive stress.
But consider the alternative. It is also incredibly painful to sit in a cubicle for 50 years.
Surviving on a 3% annual raise that doesn't even cover inflation.
Stressing over corporate restructuring and praying you aren't downsized when you are 58 years old and considered too expensive by a new management team.
It's a steady and asymmetric risk.
In the slow lane, you risk 50 years of your irreplaceable time for a mediocre, highly vulnerable payout at the end of your life.
In the fast lane, you risk 5 to 10 years of intense, concentrated effort for the potential of generational wealth and absolute time autonomy in your youth.
One hard ends with freedom, the other hard ends with a gold watch and a fragile 401k.
As we distill this immense amount of information, the ultimate shift required by the listener is structural.
The core lesson of the Millionaire Fastlane is the transition from operating as a consumer reliant on uncontrollable, limited leverage,
Where time is your absolute enemy.
to becoming a producer wielding controllable, unlimited leverage.
Where time is removed from your wealth equation entirely.
This deep dive is for anyone who is exhausted by the settle for less narrative.
Whether you are a 22-year-old just entering the workforce, staring down the barrel of a half-century of 9-to-5s,
Or an older professional who has watched inflation and market turbulence decimate their retirement timeline.
The math of the fast lane is completely agnostic to your age or background.
It only cares about the variables in the equation you choose to execute.
If you continue to follow the advice of the masses, you will inevitably achieve the results of the masses.
Which, in the modern economic landscape, is chronic financial insecurity.
So we want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to analyze.
Right now, wherever you are listening to this, in your car, at the gym, in your living room, look around.
Look at the software you're using to stream this audio, the smartphone in your hand, the shoes on your feet.
Every single object and service you see was produced by someone who recognized a friction or a need you had.
And by purchasing it, you transferred a fraction of your life, energy, and wealth over to them.
They operated on the producer side of the equation, utilizing scale to capture your capital.
The challenge for you is this. What are you producing today that will reverse that flow of capital tomorrow?
How are you going to stop funding the MTV Cribs lifestyle for someone else's corporate system and start building the scalable infrastructure that buys back your own freedom?
You don't have to wait until you are 65 to live your life. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Now get out there, switch teams, and start building your fast lane.